Hannah. Today I'd like to show you how I make my own nut butters. When I say nut butter, I mean peanut butter, cashew butter. You could make almond butter with this method. Really anything. You can use any nut or seed with this method, but it's very customizable and very easy. The only thing that you need is a blender and the nut or seed of your choice and a little bit of oil, whatever oil that you would like to use. So I hope that's interesting to you.
So this is my blender. I have a Vitamix blender, and this cup, or like blender cup, is 64 ounces. So just to give you like an idea of the scale of this cup. So I'm going to pour my cashews directly into my blender. And like I said, I'm going to use about half of this bag, so I'm going to use 1 pound of cashew nuts. So 1 pound of my cashew nuts fills up about half of my blender. Well, I'm going to use this coconut oil jar to store my cashew butter when it's done, but there's just a little bit of coconut oil still on the bottom of this container, so I'm going to pour that coconut oil right into my blender. Alright, so now we're in my storage room where I keep my appliances, and so we're gonna go ahead and blend up these cashews with just like the tablespoon of coconut oil that I poured in there. And as I have my nuts blending, if I notice that it's getting a little hard to move things through, I will pour just a little bit more of the sunflower oil into my blender. To keep it on a low speed, more like 1 to 2, no, but we don't want to overwork the blender too hard and make it overheat. So we're going to start with a low speed. I do have like a tamping tool that came with my blender, and so I will use that in the top opening to kind of push the cashew butter back down in on itself towards the middle. From here on out, I'm just going to keep on blending my nuts and oil together. So my cashew butter has just very small little lumps in there. If you do not want any lumps at all, you would just keep processing this even more until it is completely smooth. You don't have to add any more oil at this point. You could just process it in the blender for a little bit longer for those fragments to break up even smaller. However, cashews are a very soft nut, so I don't mind the lumps. So here's that coconut oil bottle or jar that I had in the beginning. It has very small amount of oil still in it. That's okay with me. And I'm just going to pour my cashew butter right into the jar. After I pour what I can in, I'll use a butter knife to scrape the sides down and really try and get as much of the cashew butter out as I can. I don't want to waste any of it.
Okay, so now that I showed you the process of making the nut butter, I wanted to show you some of the options that we like to use around our house. Okay, so this is the cashew butter that you just saw me make. I used an old coconut oil bottle that I had, that someone gifted me, coconut oil from Publix. It is expeller pressed. I do think it's refined, yeah, which is not typically the type of coconut oil that I would use, but I don't mind. I used the oil for this for other projects. So yeah, using 1 pound of cashews, I got almost a full jar in a 29 fluid ounce jar. So that's pretty good. We've already been using our peanut butter a lot. My husband loves peanut butter. It is his favorite nut in general. I decided to go ahead and take the tops off of all of the jars so I could show you the consistency of them. It had a little bit of lumps in it when you saw me blending this one, but cashews are really, really soft nut, and so I don't mind a little bit of lumps, but as you can see on top, it's much more smooth, and so I think maybe the lumps are a little bit lower. And my peanut butter, I got this one very, very smooth. My husband prefers very smooth peanut butter, and so I blended it for longer than I blended my cashew butter. It only took me about 5 minutes total, entire time of blending, for me to get the cashews from their full nut form to a butter form. This is my cacao pumpkin seed butter. So I used pumpkin seeds, a little bit of agave for the sweetness, and some cacao powder. And if you allow any of your nut butters to sit for an extended period of time, some of the oil will come to the top. If you don't want the excess oil, you can just pour that out and you don't have to keep it, because the nut substance will settle over time and the oil will rise to the top. So you can, over time, if you would like, pour that out. So this is my pumpkin seed butter. I also wanted to show that the consistency between each nut is different depending on how long you process them. Because cashews are so soft, I didn't have to process them as long, and the lumps are not as noticeable. Peanuts are a little bit harder, but I processed them for a little bit longer so that they would become smooth. And then my pumpkin seeds did not become smooth because I didn't feel like processing them any longer than was happening. This was taking me a little bit longer because the cocoa powder was absorbing a lot of the moisture. I used coconut oil, cacao powder, and pumpkin seeds and agave. And so it was quite difficult to get it to blend and become small fragments the way I was looking. Also, these are much smoother, and this one is much more lumpy. This one doesn't come out as a smooth butter, it comes out more lumpy. and keeps its form a little bit, which doesn't bother me at all. My husband doesn't really eat this one, but I don't mind to just pick up a lump and then mash it into the bread that I'd like to eat it with. And then one of the butters that I made when I first started making nut and seed butters was my version of Nutella. So I did use hazelnut seeds, cacao powder, and a form of sweetener, which was agave, and also oil. Again, you can use any kind of oil that you would like. For my peanut butter, I usually just use peanut oil so that it's like all the same type of flavor. For my cashews, I really didn't care, so I used some of the coconut oil that was already from this jar, and then used sunflower oil on top of it. For this one, I used coconut oil because I wanted it to have like a slightly coconut flavor with the cacao powder. And for this one, I'm pretty sure I used hazelnut oil. So anyways, these are the nut and seed butters that we enjoy. We don't really like almond butter, but that doesn't mean that you can't make it with the same method. You could use almonds and almond oil if that's something that you enjoy. Well, I hope that was fun. I like showing people the different things that I make. And this is just how we make our nut butters. Nowadays, I do kind of make all of our nut butters that we use, but that wasn't the case for a long time. It took a while to move into the lifestyle of just making nut butters because it takes quite a bit of nuts. We buy our nuts on bulk from Amazon, which I would like to move away from, but for the time being, that's the easiest and cheapest way for me to find the nuts that I like. I hope you have a good day. I hope you feel loved. I hope you feel comfortable to try something new or tell someone you love something that was important to you and feel valued. Have a good day.